What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Thanks so much for being with me. I'm going to talk about 5 ways nootropics changed my life, and these are like really, really important things that I was unable to do before starting experimenting into nootropics and then getting years deep into nootropics. And these things are some of the core elements that drive my life now, that make it what it is, and that allow me to be happy and healthy. So I'm going to get into that. In the meantime, what supports this broadcast are a couple nootropic products, epic ones. Number one, Cortex Stack, powerful pre-made stack. Look, I mean, if you want verbal fluency on cue, motivation on cue, mental energy on cue, the drive to do work on cue, buy Cortex. Do it at livecortex.com. Best way to get it is auto ship. So we have an auto ship option that gets you the bottle cheaper, auto ship to you every month for the same price at the same time. If you're new to Cortex, just do auto ship first, and then if for some reason the stack doesn't register, you can cancel it, but you have gotten it cheaper. Nootropics Ground Zero, if you're new to nootropics. Look, I can't tell you how useful it is to prevent yourself from wasting 3 years or 4 years in doing your own research and experimentation, because a lot of the information that's out there is just not targeted to generally everyone. I created a course that's targeted to people that are new going into nootropics to save you all that time and really hassle of going through Reddit and all the different forums on the web and trying things and not getting results and all that stuff. Get Ground Zero if you're new. If you're in a couple years and want to ascend to the 6-year mark, get the Nootropics Masterclass. The Nootropics God Course, which is the 10-year plus mark, is almost finished. So that'll be launching probably right around Christmas, if not very, very early into the new year. So pay attention to that. Last couple things. For another 24 hours, the 3.5-month consult, these are one-on-one brain engineering consults, and the 6-month consult are on sale. So the 3.5 months is down to $2,500 and the 6 months is down to $4,400. That's substantial savings over the normal ticket item for those consults. If you've been thinking about getting on board, go to livecortex.com right now. There is no coupon code. They are both on sale. You have 24 hours to pull the trigger. I am nearly booked for the winter. Do it ASAP. Okay, so 5 reasons nootropics changed my life. Let me just start off by saying, I started using nootropics just about 15 years ago. My first, dive into nootropics was paracetam, alpha GPC, Alcar, huperzine A. Those were literally the first 4 compounds that I tried. I got into nootropics after a long stint of meditation. It was about 3 weeks of 45 minutes a night, and realizing that made me feel differently, both acutely, and then I just sort of ongoingly felt differently when I was doing it. Looking into exactly what that was and what the brain chemistry was, and then advancing on top of that, well, what else can do this? What else can modify brain performance in a way that makes me perform better? Because I realized at that point, well, this is it. Like, this is how I'm going to do what I want to do in life. This is how I'm going to feel good, be happy, perform well, stave off brain aging and all this kind of stuff. That led me into nootropics. Getting into nootropics, there were a lot of things that changed. There were a lot of things that I used to have deficits in that then I could do better and have stuck with me. And I'm going to run through 5 of them. Number 1, reading comprehension. So it's hard to picture it now, right? Considering all the work that I've done and who I am and whatever. But in school, I was terrible. And, I guess probably in some sense just because of the formatting of the educational system, I wouldn't like it if I were to go to college or something now, or go to a university to get some sort of degree in one thing or the other. I probably wouldn't like it, but I would be able to do it. Back in, when I went to school, ranging from middle school to high school, really, and even before that, I guess you could probably couch it elementary school as well, my reading comprehension sucked. It was terrible. So bad that I'd be on page 2 of just reading page 1 and then shifting to page 2, like in a book or something. I have no idea where I was. My brain couldn't take the information and put it all together and synthesize it. A storyline, forget it. I was terrible at it. I would have to go reread it and be like, I don't even understand this. And eventually I get so frustrated that I put it down. I failed pre-algebra. I had to take it again. When I finally got to Algebra 1, I failed that, had to take it again. I just couldn't do it. Anything that required me to go home and read and comprehend information and study for a test, it just wasn't possible. My brain didn't have the ability to do it. After experimenting with Noopept for about 4 years, it was on and off, but I ran some heavy experiments that became the basis for the Noopept Pro stack list. It's a digital product that we have at livecortex.com. Somewhere a year in or so, I started to comprehend information that I was reading. And then as I continue those experiments, like, it just got more intense that I wanted to comprehend information. Like, I wanted to read papers and I wanted to read books, and I read a bunch of books, I read a bunch of papers, I read a bunch of personal development stuff, and it all stuck. And a lot of that personal development stuff actually changed my life. So, like, how crazy is that? A 4-year stint with Noopept and heavy experimentation trying to get it to work, and pretty consistent use on it with proper cycling made me able to comprehend information. I was taking other nootropics at the time, but nothing like I was taking Noopept. Like, nothing was as regimented and as experiment-based as Noopept, and really nothing that I was taking was contributing to BDNF and cholinergic signaling efficiency like Noopept does. So reading comprehension, that's number one, like, way that nootropics changed my life. And out of this day, I love reading long papers, whether it's about SARS-CoV-2 or whatever. I read everything about everything, and it's just like a hobby. And I never would have imagined that, and that's thanks to nootropics. Number two, being able to be motivated on cue. Being able to be motivated on cue is the second reason nootropics changed my life, second way they have changed my life. Motivation is, it's difficult to achieve if you don't know how to induce the brain state to be motivated, right? And, a lot of that is, I think that we have temporary states of brain chemistry states, and it's easier than you think to get into certain states, into the state of motivation. But it's like, if you don't know how to change the chemistry in an acute period to get you into a motivated state, you can still do it, but you'll have to be relying on things like meditation or running or working out. I mean, these things can give you the energy to have motivation to do things, but there's really nothing quite like striking the dopamine chords, like chemicals that's mechanisms of action are dopaminergically related, right? Or are straight dopamine enhancing. There's nothing like it. So getting into uridine and getting into CDP choline and getting into tyrosine and phenylalanine, bromontane 9-MEBC, these things allowed me to, like, if I need to do something that requires motivation and I can't muster it, to get the motivation on cue from stacks. It really, that alone is a life-changing thing, because a lot of people struggle with that, right? But if you can manipulate the chemistry, well, you can induce motivation pretty much when you want it. That's number two. Number three, I'm in charge of my states. I'm in charge of my states. What does that mean? My brain states throughout the day, and I go in and out of many of them if I just leave it alone, and they're not always the best states. But having nootropics to turn on certain aspects of chemistry, turn off certain other aspects of brain chemistry, it's like I'm much more in charge of how I feel throughout the course of the day and the states that I end up in. And those states correlate with your output. They correlate with everything. They correlate with the happiness of your life. They correlate with, what you give into your relationship. They correlate with how you treat your animals, your cats, your kids, your mailman. They correlate to everything. States are everything. Being able to manipulate brain chemistry, I can manipulate my states. I'm in charge of them. If I'm in a bad mood, I know how to fix it. If I'm not motivated, I know how to fix that. If I'm not energized, I know how to fix that. It states, like, if I'm, sorry, I have something in my eye. If I'm doomy and gloomy for one reason or another, I know how to change that state. And sometimes I'll meditate, and sometimes I'll run, and sometimes I'll do affirmations or do affirmations are actually really important and powerful. But when those aren't enough, I can change the state that I'm in with nootropics. That's number three. I can change my states, and I'm in charge of the states that I'm in, the brain states, the mind states that I'm in at any given time. Number four, and this is a really important one, that was actually really daunting to me in the beginning when I realized I had to do this. but then, getting the brain to be able to do it, it became a lot easier. Was learning about nootropics and neurophysiology helped me to understand manipulating physiology elsewhere in my body. Okay, so learning about brain chemistry and cellular function, neurotransmitter receptor function, cascades, signaling cascades, cause and effect, how things are tied, what controls what. What does the hypothalamus control? What state do you end up in when you are able to modify the anterior cingulate cortex, and therefore modify your stress response to things? So learning the neurophysiology of nootropics and spending years dealing with changing brain chemistry with nootropics, I learned, because there's so many parallels and crossovers, how to affect my gut biology, how to affect my hormone biology, how to affect energy dynamics, dealing with like colds and viruses and flus, manipulating my sleep. All those things I learned. Really the pillar for understanding them was understanding the physiology of brain function and brain performance. It's like a lot of these other things, whether gut biology or hormone biology or energy dynamics, some of them have to do with brain chemistry, some of them do not. But the systems that control your hormones, the systems that control your energy, they're not the same as what controls neurotransmitters, but the overall framework is, and the strategy that you use to ultimately make a major change in hormone function or energy function is the same. It may take a month, it may take 2 months, it may take some time to alter some of these like blood markers, on hormone biology and I guess subjective markers of energy dynamics, which are ultimately objective markers, right? Like ATP and things like this. Just thinking about the process, like identifying what's wrong, heavily researching what should be able to fix it, looking at the chemical signaling cascades behind it, what optimizes that, what's responsible for what, and then being able to take not just nootropics, but supplements in general, or chemicals at our disposal, research chemicals and stuff, to be able to modify those things in a way that changes my energy, changes my hormones on the documents, on the lab work. Allows me to get over colds quicker and stuff like that. Fixes my sleep. I sleep so great. And if ever it gets messed up, like I'm probably only one track away from figuring that out, because it's so dialed in at this point. So number 4 is learning about nootropics and brain physiology helped me to understand manipulating physiology everywhere else in my body. And that is a hugely useful thing. Something that when I realized I should do this, when I was getting into nootropics and modifying your physiology is really the key to having a successful life. I truly believe that. It was daunting to think that. I'm like, I have to know at least as much as an MD. At least. And then from there, I've got to compound upon that to learn a lot more. And number 5 ways nootropics changed my life is nootropics made my life a lot more relaxed, knowing that when I'm ebbing, I can ebb. This is a weird one, right? Nootropics made my life a lot more relaxed, knowing that when I'm ebbing, I can ebb. So let me explain. Productivity, regardless of whether you're modifying brain chemicals with nootropics, like in general, it sometimes can ebb and flow regardless. Like you could have a great stack for motivation and then you're motivated, but there's something else. Maybe it's your spirit, I think it's spiritual and emotional, which again is physiological. The spiritual element is not physiological, but the emotional part is. But sometimes there's just things in your spirit that are preventing you from wanting to work. A good example would just be, really getting fucked over continuously by someone or something, that may have happened in your life. If you're in business, a market change. If you're in a relationship, your partner treating you poorly for a long time. That can put you in a place where you're ebbing, meaning you don't want to be productive. But realizing that you can get out of those places, and then when you feel the flow state coming back in, you're sort of starting to feel better from wherever made you ebb, realizing that like you can capitalize on your now resurgence of energy to do things with nootropics, and you can be triple or quadruple more productive in a certain time set. So like if I have two days of ebbing because something really bad happened in my life, I'm relaxed about that instead of being like, oh, I have to work, I have to work, I have to work, I have to be productive, I have to be productive. Because I know that the moment I get over that emotionally or spiritually, that I can manipulate my brain physiology in a way that will allow me to, in a small period of time, call it 4 hours, get triple or quadruple the amount done that normal people are able to get done. So it's almost like I didn't even really lose any time. So when I feel spiritually or emotionally down, I don't worry about it. I know it's a phase. There's something else going on in my life, in my life dynamics that are outside of work or business or something, usually relationships and or the state of the world or whatever. I'm relaxed in those moments, right? Because I know I'm going to recover spiritually. And then when I do, I can, modify brain chemistry right away and sit down for a period of time and get quadruple the amount done that normal people do in that time. So it's really like I didn't even lose time. It's like being in control of your states with nootropics allows you to relax a lot more when you're having downtime. Because sometimes there's inevitable downtime, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And that's okay, you need it. You also need to recognize that you need downtime and take it when it, when you need it. And in those periods, like I'm just a lot more relaxed in general because I am in control of my brain for the most part. Okay, so let me run through all these 5 again. Number 1, reading comprehension. Used to suck at it. Failed a bunch of classes and courses in school. Hated it. I had a hard time reading to the point where I never picked up a book. I just wasn't into it. Noopept and some other nootropics, but mostly a stint with Noopept for 4 years and a lot of experimentation changed that. Made me want to pick books up. Made me want to read scientific papers. Makes me want to digest stuff and think about it. My brain is alive. My brain is active. Nootropics changed my reading comprehension ability. Being able to induce motivation on cue and other states, by the way, relaxation on cue, energy on cue, like the ability to compartmentalize, working memory on cue. But motivation is a hell of an important state to be able to induce. Aside from ebbing and flowing, when everything is straight spiritually, I can induce motivation when I want. And that changed my life. That changes my life. That drives my life, and it's substantial. Number 3, I'm in control of my states. I'm largely in control of my states. If I'm in a particularly bad place or a place that just isn't optimal, I can change it. And it's all elements of the spectrum. On the mood side, on the lack of energy side, on the lack of motivation side. If I'm particularly gloomy about something, I can change my state pretty much on cue. Being in charge of your states is hugely useful to having a good life. It also lets you know that sometimes the states that you get in, you can manipulate. You're not just at the mercy of whatever else is going on around you and how you end up feeling. You can change them. Number 4, learning about nootropics and neurophysiology in general helped me to understand manipulating physiology elsewhere in my body. Gut biology, hormone biology, energy dynamics, sleep, optimizing sleep. That was a huge thing. Realizing I had all this control over the rest of my body from my understanding of brain chemistry and how to modify it. Because you can understand brain chemistry, but not know how to change it. There's plenty of people out there that like to talk about it, but can't really do anything for anybody or themselves. Being able to change it is really key. And learning the brain chemistry of nootropics has a lot of parallels elsewhere in your body. And number 5, it just made me a lot more relaxed because when I'm ebbing, I realize it's okay to relax. Maybe that's the critical point. It's okay to relax sometimes because when I'm back in and I'm ready to go, I can induce the craziest states and get a lot done in small periods of time. 5 ways nootropics changed my life. Hope that's been useful for you guys. Thank you so much for being with me. Go to livecortex.com. So there's some sales stuff. There's some big sales actually, and there's some sales coming up. Number 1, Cortex Stack. livecortex.com, powerful mental energy, motivation, verbal fluency stack. To get it cheaper though, do auto ship. It gets you Cortex shipped to your doorstep automatically at the same time every month for cheaper. And if you're new to Cortex, just do auto ship right away. And if you end up not loving it, you can just cancel auto ship, but you'll have gotten it for cheaper. Intelligent thing to do. If you're new to nootropics, Nootropics Ground Zero is where you have to start. It is the course that I wish I had when I was new. I would have saved 4 years, and I can save you a lot of time too. If you're in a couple years but want to ascend to the 6-year mark, at which you get a lot better results, you're able to really manipulate these compounds in a way that helps you to induce states on cue more readily. Get Nootropics Masterclass. It is a powerful, powerful information-dense course with a lot of stacks. Viking Testosterone Protocol if you're a guy that needs to raise tests. And then lastly, on sale, the 3.5-month and the 6-month Nootropics consults. These are hands-on, results-driven, one-on-one brain engineering consults. The kind of stuff that we're able to get done for people is remarkable. We will change your brain. We will change your life in those consults. We will change your energy dynamics, your sleep, your hormone profile, your brain capacity, your brain performance, your output, your productivity, your satisfaction with life. It's all about manipulating brain chemistry and sometimes other elements of physiology, which we do in these consults. 3.5 months down to 2,500, 6 months down to 4,400, on discount for another 24 hours. If you've been thinking about doing it, you have to do it now. If you want it for cheaper, you can wait, but you're not going to get it for cheaper because that is ending in 24 hours from just about 7 p.m. December 14th Eastern time. So December 15th, 7 or 8 p.m., that's going to be over Eastern time. So get on it if you are getting on it. Thank you so much for being with me, everybody. Talk to you next time.